Welcome back, my rocket fluffers. It's SJB here. Today we're focusing on the rocket gunner. This is an interesting tower, to say the least. There's a couple things we got to talk about that before we even talk about the numbers here. First of all, obviously you can move them around into place, and their range here is not actually the entirety of the range. So if I wanted to shoot this guy, I could not just leave them over here and have them randomly hit over there. In addition, randomly, if you get more range from some other bonus, you can leave them in that spot. So like Therian is like that increasing their range and allowed me to put them over here, and now they don't just slurp back. But I could ever put them over there again. So it's kind of interesting. But you can see the range is much smaller. I don't know the exact amount, but obviously probably about half of this or something like that. And they can be touched down. So they're technically partially a barracks tower. But I'm not going to focus on them as a barracks tower here. I'm going to focus on them as a regular attack damage tower. But if they do get used like this, they can die, and this will definitely affect your calculations and your total damage and everything here. The amount of stalling that you do, in my opinion, is not worth it. I would leave them as a rocket gunner all the time. Let them shoot from the sky and try to do some damage. But just keep in mind also that these guys can die to units that attack flying units. So definitely think about that. If you have the right enemies, they can just kill these guys and totally wipe out your damage, which can really, really, really suck. So a lot of maps, they can be very unusable or actually horrible to use in some situations because you lose out on so much of that extra damage that nobody else really has to deal with. So, anyways, let's get down to the numbers here. So as far as the average damage goes, again, we just take the number down here. We add it up, divide by 2. You know, 40, 60, 100, divided by 2 is 50. No problem there. We understand that. As far as speed goes, so just to kind of reiterate this really quickly, the speed of this guy is going to be 60 times total attacks per minute for the entirety of the tower. That means each one of these units is going to attack 30 times, or they're going to attack every 2 seconds. So I know that can be a little bit confusing, but if you lose like one unit, you know, just take it in half. That's just put it like that. Then we get to the damage per minute, which is just, again, that average damage times the speed. That's going to give us a really nice efficiency. Nothing complicated here. Just very, very straightforward. 3.9, 4, 4.1, 4.2. Now, again, over 4 is usually pretty solid. Under 4 is not bad, but it starts to get worse as you get closer and closer to 0. So this guy's solid. And the nice thing I like about him is that, obviously, 3.9 goes up to 4, goes up to 4.2, goes up to 4.28. So obviously we're getting more efficient as we buy to the higher level. So we want to try to get higher level rocket gunners as soon as we possibly can. That is just a #1 thing we want to note. Go for the higher level if possible. It will be better for you. Which is not always the case for all towers, which I thought was so freaking confusing and weird. But anyways, yeah, get a high level rocket gunner and you're going to be freaking happy over here. So, that's kind of it for, like, the regular base attack of the rocket gunner, but obviously they have abilities, so we gotta have the abilities really quickly. We've got the Sting Missile. So the first level is going to do 300 health, the second level is going to do 600 health worth of damage, and the last level is going to do 900 health worth of damage. So, let's go over the speed real quick. The speed of the attack is going to be obviously whatever the attack is divided by the 60 seconds of a minute to give us the amount of attacks we're going to get here. And as we get to a higher level, the cooldown is also going to go down to a minimum of 16 seconds. The second level is going to be 20, and the third level is going to be, well, it's going to be 24, 20, and then 16. So that's going to be 2.5, 3, and 3.75 times per minute. That can be extrapolated with the total possible max damage that we're doing, not the actual damage that we're doing. We could easily kill a Glareling with our missile and do 50 damage. But if we could do the 300, 600, or 900 damage, which is almost never going to happen, by the way, what would that work out to be? Well, the cost would be 250, 350, and 450, and the total damage that we could possibly do in that situation would be that. And that would lead us to an efficiency of 3, 5, and 7.5. So as far as I'm concerned, the first level is awful, the second level is pretty solid, and the third level is pretty awesome. Again, if you're getting the max damage out of it. If you're not getting the max damage, I don't want to say it's worthless, but it is not the most efficient tower. Even if you said the last level here, we're killing on average a 450 health unit, that's still... Well, 3.75, that's not, I mean, that's just like barely cutting it even. So you want to make sure that you are killing big units, you have the right units to kill with these guys, otherwise they can be fairly useless. For example, if we're only doing 600 health here, we're doing 2/3 of the 7.5. I don't know what that ends up, oh, it ends up being 5. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect little number there. So, Is it good? It really depends on what kind of units you're taking down and all that nonsense. I can't even give you a direct answer to it. It's really a situational ability, for sure. And of course, you can kill a unit that doesn't have max health anymore. You can kill it a bunch down to 74 health and just go whoop and kill it with a missile. So, again, another way that we can lose out on this missile damage. I find it to be complicated enough where I sometimes usually just stay away from it. I feel like I'm not getting max damage enough of it, out of it enough. I probably don't want to use the Sting Missiles unless I'm like, I'm in the front of the map. I know there's a bunch of big guys coming out here. I know I'm going to Sting Missile the crap out of them and take them down. But to each their own. So our last attack here is going to be the Phosphoric Coating, which is a little bit difficult to math as well. And I'm not going to take into account the percentage of armor that we're destroying, by the way. You can see it in action if you actually fight one of these guys. You can see the armor slowly decaying off this unit. It's going to be kind of fun to watch. But as far as efficiency goes, there's a couple things we got to look at. First of all, attacks per minute. Again, going to be 60. Now, if you actually look at the armor here, it starts off with 2. As you do more attacks, it's going to slowly melt down to 1. And then as you do more and more, it's going to melt down to 0. So I don't know if that's like a good thing to have happen, but every little bit is going to help here, obviously, which is kind of fun. Specifically, if you have an enemy with like very, very high armor, and you can do more and more damage by attacking him more and more and more. So it's kind of cool, actually, to see that in action. But does that mean it's good? I don't know. Not yet. Can't say for sure. That leads us to the total damage. So believe it or not, it tells us the damage that it does. It tells us that it does not do, for example, 50 grouped damage every single attack. It will do 21 to 27 area damage per attack. So, okay. It's very small area, first of all. It does a fairly small percentage of the area damage. So, I thought that was interesting just in itself. But we can still use that calculation to our advantage here. This is the cost of it, 200, 400, 600. This is the total damage that we would do if every single hit did a grouped damage. Every single hit did a group damage. But never 2, just 1. So on average, we're hitting 2 guys with every single attack. Is that fair? I don't know, probably pretty close to fair. Doesn't mean it's going to be automatically what you're actually getting out of the game here, but like, yeah, sure, we could definitely see that happen in a game, especially if we have a bundle of units somewhere, a bunch of small guys or whatever. In that scenario, our efficiency is 4.2, 2.9, and 2.4. Oddly enough, the higher you go here with the upgrade, the worse it is significantly. You should definitely chill with a first-tier Phosphoric Coating. Oddly enough, I would not expect that. But the damage doesn't increase enough to make it worthwhile. So, I don't know, bro. It seems like the numbers for this one just don't really make sense, or Ironhide either made a mistake with it, or they really take that percentage of armor into a large consideration. Like, getting rid of 3% of the armor is like a big, big, big deal. So they just don't care how much damage it does. It's important that the armor is disappearing in this upgrade. Fair enough. That could be a thing. I respect that. Does it mean that I really, really want that or think it's like a big deal? I don't know. I don't know for sure. But there it is. There it is in action. So what does that mean for this tower as a whole? If we randomly hit 3... Oh, by the way, last thing before I talk about the tower as a whole. If we hit 3 guys with every single Phosphoric Coating instead of just 1, it could get pretty absurd, though. 12.6, 8.7, 7.2. Okay. Okay. That seems pretty fair. I could be down for that. 12, 8, 7? I mean, you could also multiply it by 2 here instead and get 8, 6, and 4.8. So, like, if you're hitting multiple units, obviously it's going to do more and more damage. So, just definitely has to be a group thing, and it will do a reasonable amount of damage. But if it's only hitting 1 unit per area attack, it's really not doing a big deal at all. So anyways, let's bring all the numbers here just out to see them. It's not that much, to be honest. It just is what it is. The main thing is that we are a fairly efficient base tower as a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th tier, as long as we're not dying. Our rocket Sting Missile here is super effective if we get the max damage out of it, which we're not going to get all the time. And then our Phosphoric Coating is only effective if we're hitting many guys with a single shot, which does not always happen, and maybe not the most effective upgrade for you in most situations, just as a heads up. At least not from what I'm seeing here. That's all I got. If you guys enjoyed, press that like button, subscribe, and of course have a super duper delicious day.